Dixie?
Yes.
Do we need to ping Jody and Mick and Michael?
I recently, within the last 10 minutes, I emailed everybody a Zoom link and asked them to join that way. If you have a telephone number, or if Katrina has a cell number, she could ping them with and reinforce to use the Zoom invite that was sent.
I could do that, Dixie.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll text all three of them.
Great. In the meantime,
Okay.
I'm still trying to get this going.
Next dance is going to be one that it's called Ya Ye Na. One of our young ladies got a song. It's a love song. And the ones I had asked to keep out of the way, they're going to move. So the young lady will step forward. She's the one who brought the song to us. Thank you. Thank you. Goop. One thing that I tried to do was find out when the songs came to our community. And some of them migrated down into Yakutat, and they brought their songs and dances with them. And at that time, the glacier was way out in the Bay of Yakutat. That was 1,000 years ago when they were coming down there. And we would like to do for you one of those songs that was 1,000 years ago. It's on the do. Goop! Goop! The clan that moved down from the Copper River area down to our home they were set back a little bit, I guess you'd say. One thing about it is because it rained, and after it rained again, and it's rained down. So they wrote and danced and the sunshine song. And you'll see the dancers looking for the sun. Goop! When you are invited to another community for a potluck, they generally
Eileen, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you, Mick. We're going to begin. I just want to welcome all the shareholders for joining us tonight to be a participant or an attendee at the annual candidates forum for the Sealaska election. I appreciate everybody signing on, and really the purpose of this is to make sure that all of our shareholders have a chance to learn more about our 6 candidates. We have 3 board endorsed nominees and we have 3 independent candidates, and they're all joining us here today so that you can learn more about them, hear them answer some important questions to shareholders, and just hear from them directly as opposed to video and from the paper proxy. I also wanted to cover quickly some of the shareholder voting information. As many of you know, my name is Jaylene Kukash. I'm the Vice President for Policy and Legal Affairs, as well as the Corporate Secretary. And one of my important jobs as a Corporate Secretary is to make sure that we send out our annual proxy and proxy statement to our shareholders to vote in our annual election. And so all of you should have received your proxy and proxy statement, or should receive it soon by mail. And if you're in the Go Green list, you should have received it, the link in your email system to go online. You can also find it by logging into My Sealaska, and you'll see the proxy and proxy statement and annual report there as well. And when you go to My Sealaska, you can actually vote there. There is a link there, vote your proxy. And there's a couple of ways that you can vote. You can mail in your paper proxy by voting the shares that are listed on your proxy, or you can go online and do the same thing. You can vote either discretionary, which would allocate all of your shares to our corporate proxy holders to elect the endorsed nominees, or you can vote directed and identify which of the candidates you would like your directed votes to go to. You could also vote quorum only, just to allow us to have a legal election, but your votes wouldn't go directed to any particular individual. I do want to say that it's important you vote not only for candidates, but this year we also have a shareholder resolution on the backside of the paper proxy and also available on the online portal. And that shareholder resolution would amend the requirements for the eligibility requirements for descendant stock, so that shareholders not only have to show their descendancy from an original shareholder of Sealaska, and would no longer have to show proof of 1/4 Alaska Native blood quantum, as long as they can show descendancy. So That issue is up for election or up for a vote on the proxy. And so I hope that you'll express yourself with regards to that issue, as well as the election of directors. We do have 4 seats up for election. Again, 3 endorsed nominees and 3 independent candidates for those 4 seats. I want to make sure I share some important dates. June 3rd is our deadline for early bird voting. And so if you vote by June 3rd, you're eligible for some of the important prizes. Great prizes available to shareholders, including 2 round-trip tickets on Alaska Airlines and some cash prizes. But the final proxy voting deadline is at 5 p.m. Alaska time on June 24th. Again, 5 p.m. Alaska time, June 24th. And then we do have our annual meeting on June 25th. And I hope you'll all tune in for that as well if you can't be there in person in Juneau. So without further ado, I just want to extend myself and my staff. If anybody has questions about voting, please contact the Corporate Secretary's office or corpsec@sealaska.com. And without further ado, though, I do want to introduce our moderator for tonight's forum. Todd Antioquia joins us from Juneau. He is a former Sealaska employee, but now has his own business at Cedar Communications. He was a consultant for us when we had our first candidates forum many years ago now. And it's been a great opportunity to make sure shareholders learn about our candidates. And this year, we roped him into being our moderator for this year. And so we're really happy to have him join us today. And also just want to express our thanks to the candidates for putting their name in and running for the board of directors. So I'm going to hand it off now to our very capable and able moderator. Thank you, Todd.
It's such an honor to be here today to serve as this session's moderator. Appreciate the introduction from Jaylene, but my Tlingit name is Ganahake. I'm Eagle Killer Whale Tsagwedi from Juneau and Cake, and I'm coming to you from the traditional homelands of the Occoquan, so Occoquan Ganachich for hosting today. I really want to express my appreciation to Akshanusum, to the Sealaska Corporation, to the board of directors and management for hosting this event. I had an opportunity to share time with all of the candidates a couple days ago, and am excited for all of the shareholders to be able to hear their views and their vision, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion today. So today's session is a forum to address a number of questions that Sealaska established based on some interaction from Sealaska shareholders. There was a call to action for interest in specific information. So all 6 candidates will be asked the same question. They have not been informed of those questions before this evening. And they will be limited in time. We'll have an introduction that'll be about a minute long, and each of the responses to each of the specific questions will be about 45 seconds. And then there'll be a concluding statement of about a minute, and then some concluding comments from management. The order of the responses that I'll call on to each of the specific candidates was created by random ordering. So you'll see a different order in each session. And also I want to mention that the candidates asked that I address them in their traditional Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian names. And so I will do so to the best of my ability. I apologize if I make any mistakes. I'm still learning our language, and we'll do the best I can and ask your forgiveness if I make any mistakes. With that, I'd like to turn the introductions over to the individual candidates and ask that each one of them make your introductory comments and introduction and stick to about a minute's time. And with that, we'll start with Watlaw Gadak, Ms. Barbara Blake.
Ganashtish, Ganahake. Dalang Hadala is Atlant is Ashdi Gudunai Lagang. Good people, it's an honor to be with you. Frances Demert Peel, Di Nanu Ejan. Frances Demert Peel was my grandmother. Sandra Demert, Di Au Ejan. Sandra Demert is my mother. Ken Johnson, Di Had U Ejang. Ken Johnson is my father. Wafal Gidak Hinudi Kiang. Barbara Blake Atsatai Hinudi Kiang. My name is Wafal Gidak. My English name is Barbara Blake. Gaya Last Gustu Di Kualangang. I am of the Raven Moiety. Di Yak John Gagang, I am a woman of the Middletown people. Hikta Hung Lai Uth Ijung, I come from Heidelberg. I am also the granddaughter of Fleanadi from Shawak, and also the daughter of the Nelchina, the Sky Clan. My father's people are Athabaskan, and they come from Chestachina. Currently residing here in Santa Kahini, otherwise known as Juneau, on the homelands of the Aquan. And it's a great honor to continue to be uplifted in this space of thinking through what it means to serve our people in a board capacity. So With
that, we'll move on to 15, Jody Mitchell.
Guraschish Kanahek. Tlinket Kanak 16 Yukatawasak. Yechna Hatsati, Deshitan Ayakhat, Norwegian Yadi Ayakhat. My English name is Jody Mitchell, and my Tlingit name is Seichtin. My family comes from Angoon and Cake. I was born and raised and lived most of my life in Juneau, and I still live here today. My grandparents were the late Ronald and Elsie John Sr., and my mother was the late Eleanor John David, who was a strong shareholder advocate. My dad is Dennis Ames, former Southeast Alaska purse seiner. He lived and fished out of Angoon and Sitka for many years on the fishing vessel Talia. Some of you might remember him. My day job, I am the CEO of Inside Passage Electric Cooperative, where I've been since 1993. Although I used to work for Sealaska as an intern and also as a senior accountant before I moved on to IPEC. And I'm just really honored to be here, and thank you all for being here with us. Kulas Chish.
Cheese 15. If I may ask the candidates, while you're not speaking, if you could please mute your microphone so we ensure that we don't have any background interruption. With that, we'll move on to Tashi, Richard Reinhardt.
I am Richard Tashi Reinhardt Jr. Duani Kaknakla Yahat Dusak Yechna Hatsati Kiksadi Ayahat Gagan Hit Ayahat Shakwan Hatsati. I live in Washington with my wife Melissa and my son Soren and my daughter Talis. I also have 3 older sons, Richard, Matt, and Levi, and 4 granddaughters and 3 grandsons. I am the CEO for Tlingit Haida Tribal Business Corporation. I have a master's in business administration with over 30 years of hands-on business management experience. I also have a bachelor's in accounting with 20 years of finance and accounting experience. I'm the chairman of Ha'ani, our natural resource holding company, and the former vice president and chief financial officer for Sealaska Corporation. I am landless from Wrangell. I have served on the board since 2013, and I helped create, direct, and stick to our strategic plan that turned this company around. Our plan over the next 5 years should double our revenues and profits. We have a strong team. Please keep our team together to set Sealaska on a solid course for sustained profitability. Guneshish.
Cheese, Tashi. Donna Walk, Mick Beasley.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mick.
Okay, good. My name is Mick Beasley. I live in Juneau, Alaska. My Tlingit name is Donna Walk. I'm here to ask you to vote for myself to be an independent candidate for the board of Sealaska. I come from 7 brothers. I have a twin brother, and he helps me out in my elections, and he's a great advisor. I like to bring an independent voice to the board level. I like to help people, communities, and I don't mind helping to move a meeting. It turns out I like the boardroom, and I'd like to come back. With your help, I will. Thank you.
Sheesh, Donna Walk, and if your technology is able, if you could join us on camera, that'd be great. But if not, we understand that the technological limitations some of us encounter too at times. So with that, Deborah Leckenhoff.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Sealaska. It's wonderful to be here. My Thlinkit name is Hichisi. I come from the rich forests, the old growth, the beautiful homelands, and the rivers in Yakutat. My mom is Frances Renner. My grandma is Edith Milton. My dad comes from St. George, hence the Leckenhoff. I come from a little bit of seal people and a little bit of salmon people. I'm so pleased to be here this evening. Currently, I serve as the only Native American in the entire Washington State Legislature. I'm coming into my third term running unopposed. I have spent 30 years in governmental services. I've exchanged and negotiated and fought and engaged and collaborated at the tribal, local, corporate, federal, and international areas. My forte and background is developing economic prosperity with a reflection and acknowledgement of environmental and natural resource protection. The team that Sealaska has built here today is where we need to be. I'm excited to join the table of the board of directors and to bring my wealth of network of 577 tribes, my wealth of congressional and state relationships, and to be able to bring my love of knowing who I am and where I come from. I want to thank my young daughter today. She is in her Washington State golf tournament. She won her districts. She is in the pouring down rain in Washington, playing her heart out. And my heart is with her today. And she knows my heart is with all of you today. So please, I hope you'll support me this evening.
And with that, we'll move on to Teach Scene. Michael Roberts, you have a minute.
Gunishesh. My name is Michael Roberts. My Tlingit name is Teach Sang. I am an Eagle, originally from Ketchikan, Alaska. My father is Peter Roberts, long resident of Ketchikan, but originally from Klawak. My grandparents are Donald and Edna Roberts from Klawak, and my great-grandmother is Rosanna Peradovich from Klawak. My day job, I am the president and CEO of First Nations Development Institute. We are a 41-year-old social justice and economic development organization that does work in Indian reservations and ultra-rural villages throughout the U.S. I've been running that organization for 20 years. I have an MBA in finance, practice venture capital, have spent years on investment boards, and believe that I have lots to offer from both my rural and economic development background, working with tribes and tribal communities, as well as my finance and accounting and investment experience. So I am honored to be here with the rest of these candidates, happy to be in their company, and excited about the opportunity that I could get some of the shareholders' votes to be serving on this board of directors. Thank you.
Thank you all for your introductions, and just want to remind shareholders that if you want to learn more and read the candidate statements that each of them submitted, they're available on their within the proxy statement on mysealaska.com. So with that, we'll move into questions, and just to let the candidates know, if you please watch your screen as you're responding. If you see Jaylene's image come up, then you are approaching or are at your time limit. So with the questions, again, as a reminder, thank you, Jaylene. With the responses from here on out, we were looking for about a 45-second response, up to 45 seconds. And so we'd like to start the discussion and dialogue around, or excuse me, not the dialogue, but to hear your responses around your thoughts on the fact that Sealaska is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and curious about what you think Sealaska has done well through its history. And with that, we'll start with Sage Jody Mitchell.
Goodness, geez, kind of hake. It's tough to be the first, but I am very proud that and I think that we have come a long way, especially in the past few years. I joined the board in 2006, and at that time we were struggling financially, And now we've been able to turn the company around and to profitability and offering many and more opportunities for our shareholders. And, you know, I am just really excited that we've made it this far and that our company is doing well and growing and thriving. And I am really excited about Celebration coming up, and I hope that many of you will be there. Like I said, it's tough to be the first, but those are my initial thoughts. Goodness, Chish. Hawa.
Goodness, Chish, for those thoughts. Tashi, what do you think Sealaska has done well through its history? And you're on mute, Tashi.
Sometimes it seems like it would be easier to say things that didn't do so well. I think some of the things that were done well is, you know, good stewardship and management of the funds of the company. If you look at and I was going to try to look it up really quickly, but you know, we're at hundreds of millions of dollars of assets and equity and revenue, and we pay out, you know, nearly $20 million in dividends this last year. So I think there's been good management that way. Good stewardship of the forest, even though we did log, we practiced silviculture for, you know, managing our forest. Even though we did use them, we call them our working forests. I think we've also found ways to provide the benefits that our shareholders are looking for, whether it's cultural through SHI or, you know, education or language. We have found ways to provide those type of benefits for our shareholders. So there's some of the things I think we've done well. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief Tashi. Donna Walk.
Well, what do I think of the first 50 years? I think that we've had a lot of people we know come through the ranks on our board of directors. I know I had a grandfather on here at one time, and we had a lot of relatives. The best thing that I think that we've done, we haven't lost any of our lands yet. We still have our land base intact. And I think as long as we have that, we're going to be number one. As a shareholder, I wanted more in terms of a land settlement. I still feel unsatisfied, like that we've received our any kind of settlement, and the years are running through. And so I look for more myself. But I'm proud to be a shareholder, and I'm real happy to be able to represent our other shareholders on the board level. Thank you.
Jeez.
Thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
So, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, you know, I've actually been around as long as Sealaska, which scares me sometimes that I'm that old. But you know, I think that Sealaska has done a great job of caring for the assets that were allotted in the Settlement Act. And you know, it seems like a fairly simple accomplishment, but when we look at some of the early days and experience of our tribal members in running businesses and managing corporations, I think there's a lot to say and a lot to be thankful for the folks who came before us. You know, I agree. In the last few years, we've had some success, and we've also been able to demonstrate that we could have a more selection of board members. I think those are both great recent accomplishments. But I also think that when we talk about the big accomplishments of Sealaska, I think it's language, I think it's culture, I think it's educational opportunities provided by the Sealaska Scholarship Fund. So thank you.
Goodness, Chish. You know, when I think about Sealaska 50 years ago, I think about the fact that our people had to become businessmen overnight. We had less than a handful of us with degrees, let alone business and legal degrees that could get us to where we needed to be. And so we were on a trajectory to listen to and learn from non-native people about how corporations should be run. Fast forward to today, and we have completely 180'd our corporation to something that our ancestors could be very proud of. Indigenizing, decolonizing on a daily basis, the way that a corporation, our native corporations are run. and lifting up our values in every single thing that we do and the decisions that we're making, so that we're making decisions based on our values as Indigenous people, instead of just based on a Western system of how funding and how money and economic development should produce for a corporation. I'm so excited to see what how far we've come in becoming perfect and experts in this space, like we do everything. And it makes me very proud to be a shareholder and a Sealaska board member.
Again, a reminder to candidates, once they've spoken, if they please mute their microphones. We are getting a little bit of background noise. With that, Sipishi, Deborah, am I saying that? Am I saying your name correctly?
Oh, thank you, Todd. It's Hicks to see. Notice how I lift up on my toes when I say it.
Okay.
I want to thank you all. You know, I just want to say the transition. I want to first and foremost thank ANS and ANB for the work and the values of our grandparents that they invested into us. Mike, I like you, I'm sharing my age. I'm as old as Sealaska, and we're proud to be here today working and collaborating. Thank you for the last 5 years of prosperity. In the last 5 years, 45 million, 65 million, 59 million, 75 million, $60 million is what we're getting in net income. We're investing in over 450 to 500 scholarships in the past 2 years. I am a product of Sealaska. You built me. I am a scholarship recipient. I am an intern. I am a person who's worked throughout the opportunities that Sealaska has provided for me. I am very interested in the last 50 years on watching our continuity, investing in water, food, and land. And I think that with our culture intertwined is what Sealaska is going to be for the next 50 years.
With that, I appreciate your reflection on Sealaska's first 50 years, and we'll move actually to current time today. What about improvements? What areas should Sealaska prioritize for improvements today? And again, based on the randomization, we'll finish up, or we'll start with where we finished with Hit Hushi.
I'll just roll into the next 50 years. You know, I'm really wonderfully proud of Sealaska and their communication team and their ability to engage with shareholders. When we have a healthy corporation, we have a healthy shareholder. I want to continue the work that we're doing in seafood investments, food sovereignty. I want to continue the work that we're doing in investing in our children, workforce development. Our next generation is going to be here tomorrow. I want to invest in reaching out to our descendants and incorporating them into our families. We are inclusive people. We wrap our arms around all of us. Our aunties remind us, and our grandmothers, who we are and where we come from. And Sealaska has done that and will continue to do that in the next 50 years. Strong and stable investments, collaboration at the state, tribal, corporate, federal, international level. And Tashi, as long as I'm here, I'm going to work 100% on the bill that makes sure that our people who are landless return the land back to them to take care of it, because it is our culture, our bloodline, and the love of who we are.
Well, geez, perfect segue, because Tashi is our next candidate to speak. What areas should Sealaska prioritize for improvements today?
Well, Deborah hit on the one that will come out first for me, and that would be the 5 landless communities of Ketchikan, Wrangell, Petersburg, Kankakee, and Haines. 50 years is too long to wait. We've already seen 48% of our original shareholders pass away, and so we need to improve on that. We don't want to go another 50 years without. We won't. Other things we should continue to improve and refine our business so that we can continue to provide more benefits for our shareholders. But within that, we need to communicate better, and we need to be more transparent, more transparency in things like we've asked for before, and we still haven't gotten this, but quarterly financials would be a nice thing to have. So that would be a good start. I see Jaylene's on there, so my time must be up.
Let's change for that. 45 seconds goes fast, but that's all. But we appreciate the sticking with the time. We have numerous questions to get to this evening. Tech Shachtzin. And you're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you. You know, I think Sealaska has done some amazing things, but I agree with Richard. You know, transparency has not been Sealaska's strong point over the last 20 or 30 years. And I think that there's a lot of improvement we can do with keeping in touch with our shareholders. You know, last few years I've run for the board and I've smiled and dialed and talked to shareholders all over the country. You know, and the thing I continuously hear is they never hear from Sealaska until right before the election season. And I think that's unfortunate. I think we can do better. I also think that there's an opportunity for Sealaska to reach out beyond the borders of Juneau and make sure that all of our shareholders in Southeast and beyond benefit from the largest of the corporation. So lots of work to be done. Thank you.
Great. 16. Priorities for today.
16.
Oh, say again.
16.
16.
Yeah. Thank you. I think what comes to mind for me is, of course, more scholarships and then employment for our community, for our shareholders. And Sealaska has worked on this. You know, we put $10 million more into the scholarship endowment recently, and we also just recently, I don't know if it's been announced, but we put more money into the permanent fund at our last board meeting to ensure dividends, a stable source of income for our people going forward. And ocean health, we are poised to be a real big player in the energy industry. And so I'm really excited about that. And Sealaska is just really poised for greater growth going forward. Of course, the landless is always going to be something that we are going to fight for and continue to fight for. Veterans allotments, you know, we really need to fight harder to get allotments in our communities. And then, of course, greater collaboration with other entities to grow the pie for all of us, just so that everybody can benefit more. Great.
Donna Walk, priorities for today.
Well, I'm in agreement with Jody. I think that we need to develop employment for shareholder hire in Southeast Alaska. We at the board level, we always say this, and it just never transfers and translates out. Somehow we have to crack the nut there. We need to continue our dividends going forward, and we need to figure out with our people coming up on how to getting shareholders to engage constructively in life. We have to make them want to get into the workforce, and I think that we have to create it. Thank you.
And I think there's a beauty and strength that we hold as Sealaska Corporation to be able to advocate for our communities and for our people like no one else can. We've done a great job of taking care of our communities as Native people and as Native entities, but the state and federal government have an obligation to our communities to uphold the wrongs that they have inflicted upon us since they first came here. And I think it's about time our corporation did more in that space. As chairman of the Hucksta committee, otherwise known as the policy committee, one thing that we're consistently looking at is how we're listening to our communities and finding opportunities to advocate in spaces that they might otherwise not be able to, and finding opportunities to advocate for things like our hunting, our fishing, and our gathering rights as Native people. It's being stripped away one cut at a time, and it continues to be an area of harassment for our people. And I think that's something that we need to focus on, because if we have no connection to our homelands and our traditions, then who are we?
How another excellent segue to our next question for the candidates. Stepping out from Sealaska operations now and into our communities, what is the most critical issue that you see facing shareholders today? And how do you see Sealaska contributing to a solution? We'll start with Donna Walk.
I think the biggest thing we need to do is educate our shareholders so that they can compete in any workforce. It seems like our people are always excluded because they say we're not qualified. We miss out on opportunities, and we have to figure out how to corral those and bring them home. Thank you.
Take such most critical issues facing our shareholders today.
Yeah, I think that our shareholders need to feel like Sealaska is involving them and cares. I think that we have a large shareholder base outside of Juneau that doesn't hear from the corporation very often and wonders how they are represented. And I think this is aggravated by the fact that we allow discretionary voting by the board of directors, not let the majority rule when electing board members to the board. So I think we need to listen to our shareholders. I think we'd be a much improved corporation when we do.
Yeah, I think the thing that keeps me awake at night is looking at our brothers and sisters to the north who live along the Yukon River and who have been unable to fish for the last 2 summers. I can't imagine passing on a life where my children and grandchildren aren't able to fish, where our ocean health has deteriorated so much that they can no longer sustain a livelihood or be in their home communities living our way of life as Indigenous people. I'm so thankful that Sealaska has invested in an ocean health platform of financial investment. And I think that that's the area we need to continue down, or else our grandchildren are going to be repeating what I heard from one of our dialogues, which is speaking to our grandchildren, speaking to us and asking, Grandma, what did salmon taste like? And that's a legacy that I will not leave for my grandchildren.
What are the most critical issues, or what's the most critical issue facing our shareholders, and how do you see Sealaska contributing to a solution? Deborah?
Todd and I are going to work on my name.
Yes, I apologize. I'm so sorry.
Wahila, I want to compliment you on your comment. I've worked with the Washington tribes for the past 20 years. I live in a life where we could be in 10. In 2 generations, we've seen the loss of salmon within our communities. Thank you to Sealaska for investing in the seafood company. We want to build that company, build in salmon recovery, build in economic development, build in making sure that we're engaged at the decision-making levels for fishing, hunting, and gathering. I believe that we have 10 years of infrastructure coming down from the federal government and engaging at the local, tribal, state levels and reaching out to our regional corporations to make sure in our rural communities that we take care of energy, water, sewer, roads, and our marine facilities. I want to also focus on workforce development. We have an opportunity to invest in our workforce development now to make sure that 2 generations from now, our children's children are ready to sit where we are today. We have an opportunity and we should take it together as a unified board.
Tashi.
Thank you for that question, Todd. I am going to go with Laklagidak. I believe that global warming and securing our seafood for the future is important, and I think we can actually do something about it. I think with our position that we're setting up our position in the world with seafood business and our ocean health business, I think that we can put ourselves where we have a voice that can be heard throughout the world globally and make a difference there. Education and training is important, but if you look at us, we are the shareholders, 50, 60 years old. We don't need a lot of education. We're sure our children, our grandchildren do, but the 50, 60-year-olds are more thinking towards how they get to retirement rather than the new job they're going to have. Thank you.
Great.
I think, as the CEO of Inside Passage Electric Cooperative, one of the things that faces our small communities is the high cost of energy. And that is a huge burden that I have spent my career working on trying to solve. It's a really hard issue because we have really small loads and small microgrids, but that's something I work on every day in my regular job. We build salmon-friendly hydro projects in rural Alaska, and unfortunately, there's no funding for the 2 projects that we have that are shovel-ready. And I also agree that subsistence rights are a huge issue that we need to work on. And I serve on the AFN board of directors now, and we are gearing up, I think, for a big fight. We had 2 workshops recently. One of them was today, and we have another one coming up where we're going to build strategy to work on that issue. I also believe we have to work on the landless and continue working on the landless and veterans allotments. And I also really appreciate the outreach that SHI has been doing over Zoom for languages and cultural programs. And ocean health, of course, is something that's really near and dear to all of us that we need to continue working on.
With that, we'll move into our next set of questions. There is a resolution on the proxy this year that Jaylene referenced during her introduction to remove the quarter blood quantum requirement for descendant enrollment. This would move enrollment to a lineal descendancy requirement only. Do you support or oppose the resolution, and why? Sekhtin, we'll start where we finished the last question, please.
I have to be perfectly honest. At the beginning of the discussion around the board table, I was not for removing the blood quantum requirement because I was concerned that there weren't protections in place to make sure that people couldn't enroll that weren't actually part of us. But then I talked to my daughters. My daughters are a quarter blood, and so my grandchildren, when and if I hope I have some, would not be eligible. And I just think that's just a sad state for us. This blood quantum requirement was something that was put on us. It wasn't something that we decided. And there are so many young people who practice our culture who are less than a quarter blood. And so if they want to enroll, I think they should be able to. And the fact is, if you think about it, in the future, there's not going to be anybody or very few who are going to be a quarter blood. We have a lot of work to do for our people. And going forward, if there's fewer of us to do that work, then where do we go? What happens? I'm just thinking about the long-term prosperity of our people. And I think it's important, especially with all of the work that we do to educate our shareholders through the intern program. Oh, sorry, I'm being cut off, but I think you know where I was going with my thoughts. So, for watching the time. Appreciate it. It's lots to share. So, with that, we'll move on to Wathal Gadak regarding this year's resolution to remove the quarter blood quantum and move to lineal descendancy.
Yeah, goodness, Chief, for that question. I am supportive of this resolution. I think it's really important that we tell our children and our grandchildren and all of those who are in my generation, I think I'm the only descendant on this slate, that they are not less than, that they are just as deserving of being connected to our lands and our corporation as any one of us. That just because their parents happen to fall in love with somebody who is non-native does not make them any less than or any less important to our community and to who we are as Native people. I'm so thankful that we have even, dropped this proposal onto the proxy this year. I have a lot of friends who work hard in the language, who work hard to reclaim our culture and reawaken the weaving and all of the other traditions that many have forgotten and cannot continue on today. And I'm thankful for that. And those individuals see no connection to Sealaska because they are under the 1/4 blood quantum. And I'd love to see them feel connected to our homelands and the lands we were able to retain.
Thank you so much. This is a powerful moment and a powerful conversation to have. You know, I look back to my own family. I look back to my brother. I'm the last of 1971 in my family to be part of Sealaska. And you listen to the testimony, you listen to what's been shared from those who are younger than I am. And they're like, don't forget us. Don't leave us behind. In 2 generations, they'll be gone. This is a absolute yes for me. Our aunties wrapped their arms around us and they carried us with them. And that's exactly what this decision is. It's your auntie looking at you and saying, I won't forget you. I won't leave you behind. This is what we're going to do for our families, for our communities. But imagine how stronger we will be when we are more inclusive. So thank you for the question. I am all in.
Sheesh. Tashi.
I think that there's good reasons on both sides. I've heard lots of people have their different reasons. And I think as a board member, we would have to support whatever the majority decides. However, you're asking what I think, and what I think is I am in support. In my personal opinion, as a fellow shareholder, I support this. I am half Tlingit and 8th Haida. My children are over 1/4, but my grandchildren are barely over an 1/8. So it applies directly within my family. I think if everybody simply looked at the facts, there are fewer and fewer people that can claim 100% Alaska Native. Very few that could even claim 1/2 now. And it's getting to be where even 1/4 is hard. And then within 1 generation, 2 at the most in our lifetime, the majority of our people will not be 1/4 Native. That's the way it's going to be. I think of Native values of Hashigun that ties the past, present, and the future. And we have to think of our elders, of course, and we have the elder settlement dividend from the Elders Trust, and we have the 100 shares of Class E stock for elders. We also have the Class D stock for descendants, thinking about future generations, and this is just an expansion of that. Now, to the people that worry about dilution, it's not the problem that you think it is. It really isn't. If you just look at the time that I've been on the board since 2013, we lost $35 million. This last year, we made 60. In the last 3 years, we've made almost $200 million in net income. Shareholder equity was $216 million or $94 a share in 2013, $471 million or $183 a share today. Hi, Jaylene. I'm going to finish this one last piece. Dividends were only $2.25 a share, and today they're $7.62 a share. And that is even with the Class D dilution. The dilution is not having an effect. This case here is not about getting smaller and smaller slices of pie. It's making the pie bigger, and we are making more pie. Thank you.
Thank you, Tashi. Danawak. Oh, you're on mute, Nick.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Todd. I oppose the resolution. The resolution represents redistributing the value of common stock, and more importantly, diluting the original voting power. This means our dividends will be smaller, but it's the voting power. Diluted voting power means more resolutions will come from shareholder votes. I think that when we lose our voting power, we lose control of our corporation. And that's what this resolution represents to me. So I oppose it. I don't think that I was elected to devalue everybody's stock. But I do believe that when the originals pass, then will be the respectful time to ask the blood quantum question. It's just a matter of timing, and the timing's not now. Thank you.
Yeah, I've run for the board for about 3 or 4 years now, and each and every year I've advocated for the removal of the blood quantum for Sealaska shareholders, and I'm fully in support of this resolution today. This is a policy instituted to eliminate tribal nations. It was the intent of those who structured the Alaska Native Land Claim Settlement Act to eliminate us as landholders, and so they could take our land and all of our assets. And by going along with the blood quantum requirements, we are just complicit with those who want to eliminate us as Tlingit people and Haida people and Tsimshian people. And so I say, let's open this up for all the tribal members today, tomorrow, and 200 years from now. Thank you.
We're going to move on to a question from a shareholder that we received when Sealaska reached out to ask for specific inquiries. The shareholder was curious about the what's the ideal relationship between Sealaska and the tribe, Tlingit and Haida, Central Council, or any of the community tribes, and should Sealaska and the tribes partner on tribal services and programs? With that, we'll start with Tashi.
Oh, and here I'm not wearing my Tlingit Haida Tribal Business Corporation jacket today. I am the CEO for Tlingit Haida Tribal Business Corporation, and I'm on the Sealaska board. So, of course, I really like to see the partnership and the tribe working with Sealaska Corporation. And I think it's a good thing, because there's a number of things that the tribe can do better than Sealaska, that they're more suited for a number of things that are more governmental, and that those are the things we should partner with them, and it has worked very, very well. It has been improving with the current executive council on the tribe side and the current Sealaska board. The officers of both entities have been working very well, and there's other groups within Southeast that we can work with as well. And I see Jaylene's back, so I will cut it off right there.
In my 30 years of governmental experience, I know that unity brings strength. Unity brings investments. Unity brings partnership. Unity is what's going to make Alaska even stronger. We have 198 regional corporate or village corporations. We have 13 regional corporations. We have 577 tribes across the United States, and 271 of them are in Alaska. Imagine how powerful we will be in Congress, Tashi, when we together move to get the landless recognized, and we're together investing in workforce development, investing in our environment, investing in our natural resources, protecting our salmon. We are stronger together. And when we bring our tribes, when we bring our corporations, and we stand as one, we will make sure that America, our first America, our Alaska state, is heard across the nation. It's an opportunity that I see that we cannot pass up. We have, again, I'm 51 years old. We have 51 years of relationship building. We have another generation to come where we can do even better together.
Yeah. I don't disagree with Deborah and Richard. I think that we are always stronger when we cooperate. I'm always struck though by Sealaska when they talk about, whenever it's convenient, they talk about that they're a business corporation, but then they try and shade into tribal sovereignty areas when it comes to CARES Act or other things, and I think impinge in somewhat on the rights and the sovereign rights of the Tlingit and Haida tribe. And so I think that cooperation is necessary, but I also think respect needs to be there as well.
Donawak, what is the ideal relationship between Sealaska and the tribes?
Well, I believe that our roles are distinct. I think T&H is a nonprofit, and I think Sealaska Corporation is a for-profit. I think that Central Council should handle all our social justice concerns, and I think that Sealaska should stay capitalist and provide dividends to our shareholders. That's what I think the ideal relationship between us would be.
For that, 16.
Goodness, geez, gonna hake. I absolutely think that we should be partnering with the tribes, and we have worked really hard on that, most recently with the Being Good Neighbors network that has been built. And I agree with Deborah, greater collaboration just makes us stronger, all of us together, working toward the same goal. And in my work at IPEC, I have seen when I go into a community and trying to build a hydro, when the city, the tribe, and IPEC and the village corporation all agree and we all work together, magic happens. That's when things actually get done. But if everybody's working and focused on a different thing, it just makes it harder to make those things that are really important to us and that can really help us. Makes it just next to impossible. So I am all for more collaboration. And that being said, I do believe that we all have our own lane, but we all bring something to the table, whether it be grants or whatever that some of us aren't entitled to, that we can't apply for, others can, and then we bring it all together and then magic happens. And so I'm all for collaboration with the tribes and the other entities that we work with. Good chish, hawa.
Chish. Good.
Yeah, this question reminds me of a quote by Vernita Herdman that when natives fight natives, someone else is winning. And I really fully believe that we have an obligation to resist a system that has been forced upon us to divide us. And that system, the government system that we find ourselves in, was built deliberately to divide our peoples. And guess who always looks for that opportunity when we're divided? Not us. The leadership in multiple positions throughout our state, resource extractors, other individuals, they're always looking for that one opportunity when we're divided to come in and take what they want. And I think the more we can work towards the being good relatives that Jody mentioned, the opportunities that we have to work together with our tribe are just amazing what we can accomplish together. The power of our people and our collective together is stronger than any force could ever be to try and divide us.
Great. How Chish for that, panelists or candidates. Appreciate your responses. With that, I'm going to we're a little bit ahead of time, so I'm going to ask a question. We have yet to explore. This is a celebration year, and would be interested to hear each of your views on. Oops. I apologize. I was still have my screen up. Sorry about that. But yeah, Ganoshish for the cue on that. So candidates, if you could please speak to the contribution that Sealaska makes annually to Sealaska Heritage Institute and what Sealaska has meant to our culture and how you see our future in continuing to contribute to our cultural resurgence. With that, we'll start with Sachin.
Yeah, I am very thankful for Sealaska Heritage Institute. At the organization I work for, we spend a lot of time investing in preserving Native language and preserving Native culture, Native arts, all those things that we see at Sealaska Heritage. I'll say this, unfortunately, I think that the reach of Sealaska Heritage could be broader. We have shareholders beyond Southeast Alaska, and oftentimes they don't feel that connection from Sealaska or the Heritage Institute. And I think, in this age of COVID, we've learned how to use Zoom and other tools, and I think we're woefully behind other organizations and other tribes in deploying those for cultural and language and arts education for our citizens and our shareholders.
Chish. Danawak.
My grandfather was one of the original elders at SHI, and as a board member, I like to feel like I'm just a continuation of the elders' efforts. I think our members of Sealaska, all members, I think they're finding out how they're learning how important and fun the culture is. So I think it's something that we will continue and that we must continue. That's the bottom line with me. Thank you.
Sheesh. I'm sorry, hit Kushi.
Thank you so much, Todd. Thank you so much to Sealaska Heritage. I look back at all of the classes, the language, and the investments that Sealaska Heritage has made to our communities. I have a young girl at home who's part of my family. She's near and dear to me. Her name's Tiffany. She comes from my godfather's dad, Chunky Henniger. And through all the work that we do at Sealaska Heritage, it brings back the beading, the weaving, the language, the love. We at a national level have looked at Sealaska Heritage from all of the 300 tribes below and saw the leadership that was raised there and the honor and the love. And it is Sealaska who built that. It is what makes us a native corporation, right? We invest in our culture, our language, educating our young ones, and always remembering that it's the younger generation that's building this beautiful work that comes back to home, that's being gifted to my daughter as she graduates this year. So thank you, Sealaska Heritage.
Goodness, sheesh. Wahala kadak.
I think about my sister when she says, Lagunai, she says, our children are waking up hungry. What are we going to feed them? And I think about what that means, in terms of our babies, just wanting knowledge. And if we're feeding them a Western construct of knowledge, then they're not engaged in who we are as Native people. But if we get the opportunity to feed them our Tlingit, our Haida, our Tsimshian languages, our cultural practices, our song, our dance, the beauty just shines through, and you see these awakenings in all of these babies that I haven't seen before. I think the first celebration was the year I was born. We won't say it out loud. But my uncle Dennis Demmert had the privilege of hosting some of the first celebrations. And I'm thankful for the fact that we get to continue to invest in not only Sealaska Heritage, but many other, the heritage arms throughout with our language programs and the revitalization of clan houses and the reestablishment of totem poles. It's beyond Sealaska Heritage. It touches all of our communities. And I'm so thankful that we are blessed and in a position to be able to do that today.
Tashi?
Ashish, for the question. SHI is the best investment we ever made, and we continue to make. Pays us back 10 times, 100 times over. You have the art, you have the language, you have the dance, you have scholarships, and much, much more. Speaking of celebration, this year, the Shot Kwan is the host dance group, and our group will be performing our loon song for the grand entrance, and we couldn't be more proud. Sheesh.
Sheesh, Tashi. 16.
Goodness, geez. Yeah, I am so excited also about celebration this year, and that we're finally going to be able to be together again and hear our singing and our drums and our beautiful regalia. I don't think that people realize that the contribution that we make to SHI, they actually turn that into like 11 times more than the original contribution, because they use it as a grant match. And so, the $2+ million that we gave them this past year turned into like 11 times that in funding. And I, really near and dear to my heart is the Baby Raven Reads program, because I have triplet nephews and they absolutely love and adore Baby Raven Reads. Zoom has really helped, and the pandemic was just really awful. All of us know that, but Zoom has really helped with providing greater outreach for our communities in the lower 48. And I know it's probably not enough, but it has helped. But SHI also provides employment, internships, scholarships. And then we have the language endowment now that is being taken advantage of by SHI. And I just really am excited about our new art campus. I really am excited over celebration that we'll be able to celebrate the new art campus. So I see you, Jaylene.
Sheesh. Thank you, candidates. We'll move to the final closing comments from each of the candidates, and each one of you will have 90 seconds. We're curious about what your vision is for Sealaska's future and how you would contribute to realizing that vision, or any other comments that you'd like to make in conclusion. And again, you'll have 90 seconds each. So, Hikushi.
Thank you so much, Todd. You know, as you look at my background, this is Mount St. Elias. I am Tlingit, I'm Aleut. I am born and bred into the love of the resources that come from my community. I look to the future of Sealaska, of embracing all that's been built, building upon that, and then engaging in future sustainability, economic diversity, looking to partnerships with our village corporations and our state and local government. I look to Sealaska building more and more jobs, 1,000 jobs, 2,000 jobs. We have 23,000 shareholders. We have potentially another 10,000 coming on if this next decision passes. We have an opportunity to collaborate. We have an opportunity to come together. We have children that we are educating, 450 to 500 scholarships of Sealaska members. They're going to want to come home. They're going to want to contribute to their village corporations, to their tribes. They're going to be mayors. They're going to be doctors. They're going to be bakers. They're going to be entrepreneurs. We at Sealaska built them as you all built me. I'm excited to be part of an opportunity to bring governmental affairs, over 30 years of engaging at all levels of government, chief negotiator at federal, state budgets, engaging on laws and policies that are going to help Sealaska grow into what it was, what it will be, and where we need to be in the future. It's an opportunity that I feel quite honored. When I look to my grandma, I look to her and I remember her holding my hand and walking down and taking her little Sealaska proxy all the way down to the post office to make sure she got it in, because every vote counts. So don't forget to vote. Thank you. Ganesh Chish.
Sheesh. Donna Walk. Final comments. You have 90 seconds.
Well, I'm here to ask you to vote for myself, Mick Beasley, an independent candidate for the Sealaska board. When you vote for me, your votes give me the privilege to represent you faithfully, independently, and to be able to participate fully at the board level. And that is really big. I love to be able to participate in the boardroom. I love to be able to talk. And I just want to say my warmest regards to all the shareholders, and I am asking for your votes. Thank you.
Sheesh.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for this forum today and for all the forums we're going to have. You know, I am struck that when I was sitting with my grandparents and my dad right after the passage of this, and we all became shareholders. I'm a shareholder of Sealaska and a shareholder of Kawakina. You know, as we got 10 years in, the criticism was, why is there so little for the shareholders outside of Juneau? And I called shareholders throughout the lower 48 the last couple of years, heard this again and again. And even the implication from folks in Alaska that they're Class A shareholders, those who remain in Alaska, and Class B who remain everywhere else. And I don't think that's the case. I think as Sealaska shareholders, we are all equal shareholders, vote for vote. And I think that this corporation could do a lot better of representing all of our shareholders throughout the US and wherever they may be. You know, we talk about transparency, we talk about communication. We don't share quarterly statements. We don't have quarterly meetings with our shareholders to inform them about what's going on and the decisions we're making. And we have this beautiful technology that we've learned to use over the last 2 years of COVID, and we underutilize that tool. And so all we do is breed animosity with our existing shareholders. And I think that's unfortunate. I work for an organization that works in rural and ultra rural communities, finds ways to get dollars and fund dreams for Indian communities throughout the United States. And I think I can bring that same sort of vision and work and results to shareholders of Sealaska. And so, like Mick, I am asking respectfully for your vote. Thank you.
Yeah, Ganesh Hawa to everybody tuning in tonight. Wanted to mention that I don't often give my criteria for what I've accomplished in life, but I've been told I need to do that more. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in rural economic development. My master's thesis was on fisheries development in rural Alaska. I have 3 different certificates that focus on business development and what it means to our communities. And so not just general business, but rural business and business as is driven by our communities, what it means to invest in our communities. I think it's super important that we continue to look and identify and find opportunities for our communities. I went home recently, I got married, and going home, seeing so many people who were buying up our land, who were not our people, who were coming to participate in a new mine that's on the island. And it was really disheartening to see how many people have moved into our homeland who are not us, and seeing our land slowly being eaten up and our communities slowly changing the face of who we are and who we've always been. And it is my goal to use my degree, experience the things that I have had the blessing to participate in throughout my career and throughout my education, into finding opportunities for our communities to move back home and for our people to be able to move back home and live a healthy life where they have the economic opportunities that can create a successful future for their children and their grandchildren. And so that is my number one goal as we move forward. And I constantly look for opportunities that can be driven at a local level and for our communities. Ganesh Hawa.
For those remarks. 16.
Ganesh, I'm sorry, I've got the chat up, so I'm trying to. I just want to say that I really appreciate being able to bring my business experience and education to the table to increase the prosperity of all of our shareholders, no matter where they live. I know that the resolution is somewhat controversial, and I get that. Like, as I said earlier, I at first was really not convinced, but as I thought about it more and more and learned more about it, I realized that I believe it's the right thing to do. And I do believe that our strategic plan at Sealaska will make us all whole over time, and that even though there will be dilution, it won't be noticeable because we are on a great path for prosperity at Sealaska. And ultimately, it's up to the shareholders to decide. And so I just encourage everybody to vote and make their thoughts known and make sure that we do the right thing here and what's best for everybody and what the shareholders believe in. And I just also really would appreciate your vote. And I just want to say that it's just a super huge honor to serve you all. And I just really believe in our mission. And so Ganesh Hawa.
Teshi, final comments?
Ganesh Hawa. Ha'ani, I'm going to talk about our land first. When our lands have been taken away, we have lost our atu, a vital connection we have with our spiritual environment. We've been cut off from the spiritual relationship with our land and made spiritually destitute. That is the way that we feel for the landless and Alaska Native vets. So I'll always continue to fight for the landless and Alaska Natives without land. I will also fully support and help promote the Alaska Native Veterans allotments within Southeast Alaska. In my time on the board, we have made many strategic moves, bringing us from losing money to making substantial profits. And we've used our profits in many ways, which include paying out higher dividends. We put $10 million into the scholarship fund, 10 additional million. We put $6 million aside for the Deschutes Memorial Fund, and we set aside $10 million to preserve our native languages. And more recently, we put $25 million to create the Seacoast Trust. And then, as Jody brought up, we just recently put $25 million into the permanent fund to increase the permanent fund. So the profits are going to good use. We'll continue to grow our profits, and this will enable us to make even more progress in our commitment to the economic, social, and cultural benefit of our shareholders. 8 years, I'm going to relate Tlingit Heights, my job at THTVC to Sealaska. 8 years ago, I was hired by Tlingit Heights as the CEO for the Tribal Business Corporation. And at that time, I had just a business plan in me. Today, I've been successfully executing on that plan ever since. And today I have 1,600 employees, 200 million annual revenues, and 700 million in backlog. Around that same time, I got on the Sealaska board and we formed a new strategic plan. We have stuck to it, and management has been successfully executing on that plan. You see the results. Past 3 years have been record profits. Our strategic goal now is to double those profits over the next 5 years. We are winning, and I'll say this again, we are winning. Please keep our winning team together, and we'll bring us to where we've always wanted to see Alaska to be. We are a strong company you can be proud of. I respectfully ask for your votes. Gunashish Hawa, Dwitchichism, Trakish Newsom.
Right, Gunashish. That concludes our questions and answers with our candidates. I want to express my appreciation again for Sealaska for hosting this forum. And want to give my thanks to the candidates for your commitment to running as candidates, and for the time that you shared with us today. Your views, your vision. As a proud shareholder, I can say you are all inspiring to me, and I'm proud to share this time with you. Most of all, I would like to express my appreciation to the shareholders for submitting their questions, for listening in today and sharing this time with us, and most importantly for participating in this important election. And I'm going to turn it over to Jaylene. She'll remind you all of next steps in the process. Again, Jaylene, and the rest of Sealaska management candidates, Gunashish, for sharing this time with me.
Thank you to all the candidates for participating. Thank you to all the shareholders for tuning in. And a huge thank you to Todd Antioquia for being our moderator and pushing us through this. And I wasn't supposed to be the timer, so I don't like being the bad guy, bad gal here, but we couldn't get the timer on the screen. So I hope that still worked out okay. I tried to be smiley and happy so you didn't think I was mad at you. But I just wanted to also just remind shareholders that we have more events coming up. We have some in-person and some virtual. We have this Sunday, May 15th, we have a meeting at Tulalip Tribe at 3 p.m. And then the following day, on Monday, May 16th, we have a South Seattle meeting at the SeaTac Doubletree, and that starts at 5:30 on Monday. Again, that's in person. And I want to emphasize to our shareholders, unless you hear otherwise, you have to have a vax card and you have to wear a mask, and we will take your temperature at the door. So we're trying to keep all of our shareholders safe, even though we really want to see our shareholders in person. So I want to emphasize that. May 18th, we've added another virtual event. That'll be a forum specifically on the resolution. So today you heard and learned about our candidates. On May 18th, we will have another session on the resolution about the descendants talk. On May 19th, we will have a virtual shareholder meeting. So for those who weren't able to go in person to Anchorage yesterday or can't go to Seattle meetings or to the Juneau meeting that we will have later this month, there is a virtual shareholder meeting on May 19th. And then on May 25th, we'll have an in-person meeting in Juneau, and that's at 5 p.m. at the Centennial Hall. But we will also webcast that meeting. So it'll be both in-person and webcast for shareholders. I want to remind folks, early bird voting deadline, June 3rd. Voting proxy deadline is June 24th at 5 p.m. And we will have our annual meeting in person in Juneau and live streamed on June 25th, where you will hear the election results. And I just want to encourage all of our shareholders to vote. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thank you to our candidates. Thank you to Todd. Thank you to our communications team for putting this together. Have a good night, everybody. Vinach.
Thank you, Jaylene. Thank you, Dixie. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Tasha.
We have one, like this other one. It's also one that was made up when you're going to a potluck. It's called the Laughing Song.